Hi, my name is Robin Wong, and in this video, I want to talk about the 5 common mistakes that beginners do in photography and how to avoid them. There's plenty to talk about, so let's do this! In case you're not aware, I've done a video on a similar topic before. I'll put the link to the video up here. Please check it out. I will not repeat anything that I've said in that previous video, but I do have 5 more common mistakes to share, and hopefully if you are new to photography, this sharing will be beneficial to you. Mistake number 1. Overthinking. There are just too many things to consider when taking a photograph, and the common mistake that many people are doing, especially when they are new, they are thinking about too many things at the same time. What's the shutter speed? What's the aperture? Should I overexpose or underexpose the shot? What kind of mirroring should I use? Did I get the focus right? How do I compose this shot? Which lens to use? Do I need additional lighting? How do I position my shot? What's the story I'm telling? Is there anything else that I missed out? Oh my goodness, there's just so many things to consider in making a shot, and anything can go wrong at any time. Overthinking is a real problem. It can lead to analysis paralysis. When you have too many things to consider, you're actually missing out on what's truly important in that particular shot that you are taking. Sometimes when you have too many things to consider, you don't really focus on what you have to achieve in that photograph. Each photograph has an objective, and you have to make sure that you achieve that particular objective and not to worry too much about everything else. One simple yet effective tip that I can share is just to figure out one important thing you want to do with your photograph. Don't think about 5 things at the same time. Don't try to do 10 things at the same time. Just one. For example, if you are shooting a waterfall, what's the most important thing you want to achieve in that photograph? Maybe you want to create the motion blur in the water. Then slow down your shutter speed, and to achieve that, you have to go to shutter priority. That's it. Don't think about everything else. Let the camera worry about the other parameters for you. Just focus on one particular objective. Another example, if you want to shoot a portrait photograph and you have a messy background, you want to isolate your photograph. What's the priority? You want to blur off the background. How do you achieve that? Use a prime lens, use a long lens, and use aperture priority, and open up the aperture to f1.8, f1.2, and blur off the background. Don't think about too much. Don't think about everything else. Just focus on one particular thing, and I'm sure by simplifying your steps, by achieving that one particular goal, then you have more focus, then you can get a better photograph. I totally understand that when it comes to photo critique, people will say, oh, your composition is a little bit off, you have to follow rule of thirds, then you have to keep the levels perfectly horizontal, and you cannot be too overexposed or underexposed, the dynamic range, the high ISO noise, is your image sharp or not? But the problem is, when you take a photograph, there will always be a compromise. You need to figure out what's important, and you need to achieve that first. For example, if I'm doing street photography, what is the most important thing? I want to capture that decisive moment, and sometimes in order to react reflexively to capture the image as fast as I can, I need to sacrifice other things. For example, composition. The image may be a little bit crooked, I may be a little bit too far, I can't get there in time, or maybe there might be a little bit of misfocus or motion blur. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I'm human, and there will always be compromises. There will always be some misses. But if I successfully capture that moment, if I can tell a compelling story, it is still a great street photograph despite the imperfections. I hope that you're not trying too hard to do everything. That's impossible. We are only human. It is okay to miss certain things. Just make sure that the main objective in that photograph is accomplished. Mistake number 2, not knowing what to shoot. This is another common mistake that I see a lot of newcomers to photography do. The most popular question that everyone is asking is how to shoot. How do I get that photograph? What's the secret technique? What's the camera settings? How do I post-process the images to look like that? The question has always been how and the shooting technique, but there is no emphasis on what to shoot. And I believe that the question what is more important than how. I see a lot of newcomers to photography, they obsess on getting the clean, high ISO images, shooting in low light, not having the noise, and then they want to spend as much dynamic range as possible, as if that's life and death situation. When they see a little bit of clipping in the photograph, they cringe, and they want to obsess on getting as many megapixels as possible. They want that ultimate sharpness in the photograph. They want the photograph to be technically perfect. But here's the truth. Technical perfection has nothing to do with good photography. If you have zero noise in your photograph, if your photograph has 100 megapixels, it's tech sharp, if there is perfect dynamic range, you have like 15 stops of dynamic range. Yet, if you have nothing in your photograph, there is no good subject content, you don't have a compelling story to tell, it is still an empty photograph. There's nothing in your photograph that will impress anyone. Please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying shooting technique is not important. I'm just saying that it shouldn't be your main priority as you learn photography. You will definitely improve your shooting techniques as you go along. However, every time before you press the shutter button, you have to ask yourself, what is in your photograph? What are you shooting? What are you doing? What are you telling your audience? What is the story? What is your content? What is the emotion? What is the idea? What is the message that you are conveying? That is more important for you to immediately think about to take your photography game to the next level. Mistake number 3, try to capture everything. I see a lot of beginners doing this mistake when they're on a shoot, whether it's a job or just out there shooting for fun. They try to shoot everything, and by doing that you are losing focus. You are not looking out for the subjects that you have to shoot. Instead, when your focus is everywhere, you end up with capturing nothing. Here is an important truth that I hope you will learn sooner or later. You cannot capture everything. You will definitely miss some shots. As a photographer, you are only human. You will make mistakes and you will screw up. That is just perfectly normal. The goal here is not to try to shoot everything. Learn that's impossible. The goal here is to minimize the mistakes that you do and to minimize the shots that you will potentially miss. If you are shooting on a job, there are ways to minimize mistakes. Do bear in mind, I was saying minimize mistakes. I didn't say prevent or avoid mistakes altogether. So how do we minimize mistakes? Here are a few suggestions. Remember, you cannot be at 2 locations at the same time. There is only one you. Therefore, you can only be at one place shooting whatever around you. Sometimes, a lot of things can happen at different locations all at the same time. So it is wise to hire a second or third shooter to be at different locations to capture these moments all at once. Working alone sometimes is just not possible. Now, second thing that you can do to minimize mistake is to have a checklist. If you are shooting something, work together with the client, know the shot list, the items that you must cover. Now go through the list. Sometimes it is an extensive list. You will not remember everything. So when you have a checklist to go through, it will definitely help you to minimize the things that you will miss during the shoot. In case of an unfortunate incident where you actually missed a shot, how you react after that is equally important. Now, if you can salvage the shot, you can retake that particular photograph, go for it. Do whatever you have to do to get the shot. There are cases where there's no going back. You've missed the shot, you missed it, that's it. You can't retake that particular photograph. In that moment, how you react will determine the outcome for the rest of the shoot. Remember, the shoot must go on. You have to carry on shooting shooting for the job. You can't just feel defeated, emotional, which will potentially make you to miss more shots as you go along. It is important to stay calm, stay positive, and focus on getting better shots as you go on shooting. Mistake number 4, not having backup or having not enough backup. This is so common, it has happened so many times before. Camera battery dying out during the shoot, or not enough memory to last the shoot. A lot of these problems can be prevented, and you just have to prepare yourself enough for the shoot. Bring enough batteries. If you don't have enough spare batteries, bring the charger with you. While you are shooting, if you have exhausted a battery, you can immediately charge it while you are using a spare. And memory cards are not expensive. You should have enough, or you should have more than enough for your shoot. There was this one incident that happened many years ago. I was shooting an actual day wedding in Australia. I had a friend with me, he was my second shooter, and guess what happened? His camera decided to break down on the morning of the shoot. His shutter unit failed. What horror! And the worst part was, I was at a different location, he couldn't reach me, and I couldn't pass him my spare camera. But thankfully, I had friends and we borrowed a camera, the shoot went on, everything went fine. Thankfully, nothing bad happened. What was the mistake here? My friend, the second shooter, did not have a backup. He did not bring a spare camera. This is a critical mistake that no photographers should do. If you are a working photographer, always have a backup. And always have a backup to your backup. You have to have a backup for your main camera, you have to have a backup for your lenses, you have to have backup for your flash, you have to have backup for everything. There is no such thing as being over-prepared. Anything can happen anytime, any one of the equipments can fail at any time. Your client hires you, your client pays you to deliver results, and you have to deliver those images. I can't just go to my client and say, oh, sorry, my camera broke down. Oh, sorry, my lens doesn't function anymore. Oh, sorry, my flash doesn't fire. I can't take any more photographs. Bye-bye, I'm going home. It doesn't work that way. As a photographer, it is your job to be as prepared as you can for that shoot. Mistake number 5, not shooting for yourself. When you are taking a photograph, ask yourself this question: who are you trying to impress? A lot of people, when they take a photograph, they share it on Instagram, on social media, and they expect people to like their photographs, and that validates their photography. Photography is a lot more than just getting likes on social media, and that's just a wrong way to look at your photographs. When you are shooting to impress others, you're not shooting for yourself. So your thought process in getting that photograph is just to make sure that other people will like your photographs. Then you are losing out on the best part of photography. Photography should be a medium for your self-expression. It should be the platform for you to show who you are and to voice your opinion if you have any message to tell other people or your idea that you want to convey. Your photography is about you, not other people. So it's no wonder that a lot of photographs you see on Instagram, on Flickr, or any other social media, they all look the same because everyone has this template they try to fit into that hopefully that people, when they see that kind of photograph, they will like it. There's that certain level or certain standards or certain checklists that they must follow to get likes. That's not photography. In the long run, you'll find that this process is exhaustive, that people don't really like you for your photographs, people don't really like your particular photography work, they just like what they see, which is similar to everyone else and everywhere else that you can see on the social media. I think to have a more sustainable hobby, if you want to do photography long term, and if you want to have a more fulfilling time doing photography, you have to start to shoot for yourself. Consider what you like. What do you want to do with your photograph? What do you have to say? What's the story that you're trying to tell through your photographs? Your photography is about you. Your photography is you. That's all I have to share about the common mistakes beginners do in photography. If you are new to photography, I hope that you found my sharing beneficial. If you are an experienced photographer, do let me know if you agree with my sharing, or if you have anything to add, please leave them in the comments below. I'm sure other people will benefit from your sharing. If you like this video, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal. Links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way and will definitely help me to make more content and publish them right here. Please also give me a thumbs up, subscribe, comment and share, and I'll definitely see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe, go out to take more photographs if you can. Bye bye.